One of the questions I get asked most often as an objectives and key results expert is what's the difference between a goal and an objective? It's really surprising to me how many organizations, even those that use OKRs, don't have clear, shared definitions for important terms that are designed to increase focus, clarity, and alignment. I'm Sara strategy coach, author, and the creator of No BS OKRs. I'm a words girl, and systems are my love language. I created the approach to OKRs that I use today to fill the gaps in shared understanding that I see holding back performance in too many organizations. Check out my book, You Are a Strategist, for more information about what you're about to see. And you can download an excerpt at the link on your screen. Now, let's dive in. In most organizations, people don't bother defining the word goal. Everyone thinks they know what a goal is. It's not the kind of word that people think need definition. The nuance that's important, though, is that some goals are shared and some goals are individual in the workplace. And in a lot of organizations, the word goal is meant exclusively to mean individual goals, the kind you write for performance management and the purposes of incentive. So then that creates confusion when we start talking about OKRs, which the traditional definition of OKRs is that they're a type of goal. And so we run into definition collision. Then some businesses have KPIs, or key performance indicators. Sometimes they're written as goals, sometimes they're just health metrics or metrics that get talked about. Some organizations have key results. That's the KR in OKRs. And by definition, our key results should connect to metrics. That's why I'm drawing them overlapping with KPIs. But in practice, most key results in typical OKR implementations aren't actually metrics-based at all. They're often written as subjective statements about what we aspire or plan to do. Then we have objectives. The term objectives gets used in all sorts of ways. It's another one that's rarely defined. I see this word used almost interchangeably with goals, with key results, with strategic initiatives, with project goals, with team goals. In the absence of a clear definition, people treat these words as if they all mean the same thing, or everyone just operates with their own schema, their own traditional definitions, without necessarily having shared meaning. That's why teams spend time arguing about what the difference is between these terms. And time arguing about what these words mean is time they're not spending actually working on what matters. Now, in practice, what we see is all these things except KPIs are often just referring to activity plans or delivery plans or projects. And then quantification comes in the form of subjective estimates of completion or counting the number of times we plan to do something. So this is a very typical situation in an organization when I arrive. And this lack of precision, it's not just confusing for people. It actively prevents good strategy execution. So let me show you how I think about this instead. In my world, words mean things, and shared meaning helps reduce conflict, cognitive overhead, and increase shared understanding. Shared meaning also breaks down walls between in-group power holders and out-group contributors and helps make achievement more accessible for all. Goals are the generic umbrella term for all the different types of hopes, dreams, and targets we create. In the dictionary, a goal is the object or aim of an action. In motivation science, it's a contributor to high performance by increasing our motivation, knowledge, and skill development. Effort, persistence, and development of knowledge or task strategy. Experiments are when we're testing our theories about how to achieve better outcomes. We have a hypothesis about what might work or what we might want to try, but it's not certain whether it's going to work. We're learning as we go, we're gathering data, we're adjusting based on what we discover. It's about innovation and transformation, recognizing that we're operating with unknowns in speculative areas, doing things we haven't done before or in ways we haven't tried. At the other end of the spectrum are our plans. Plans are what we're going to do, and usually by when. These are the activities, the projects, the roadmap, our how. Plans describe our outputs, the work itself, not necessarily the outcomes or impact that the work creates. The overlap between goals and experiments, this is where really important information that informs our strategic execution live. This is where we're saying, here's what good looks like, and here's what we're going to try and see what works in order to get there. We're not certain that what we're going to try is going to work. That's why we use experiments. We're in uncertain territory. It's speculative. But we have hypotheses, and we have a way to know if we're making progress. The overlap between goals and plans, this is where commitments live. We know how to do this work. We've done it before or something very similar. We have fewer unknowns and more knowns. And so here we can actually forecast. We can make promises about our delivery. So where do our OKR components live in this model? Objectives sit in the goal space. Objectives are goals. They're aspirational, inspired, directional statements of intent that describe what's most important and why it matters. Objectives are qualitative, aspirational, inspirational. They're designed to align the organization around a shared purpose and provide clarity on what we're trying to achieve in the areas of the business that we're trying to improve. So you can think of them like little pillars that hold up our vision. Key results are also goals. They're aspirational, empirically measurable targets that clarify the most important measures of progress and success toward achieving an objective. I really forgot to include KPIs on this drawing when I made it, but KPIs in my model are key performance indicators. They are indicators, they're not goals. They are metrics that we need to watch or keep an eye on to make sure that they stay healthy. And ideally, we don't have a lot of them. So our key results might be to improve a KPI, but not all KPIs are going to require key results. Milestones bridge strategy and execution. Milestones are how we define what needs to happen by when in a way that's certain enough that we can depend on each other. Milestones are usually written in the form of do X by Y date. And notice they're in that commitment zone. They're in that mandatory zone. That's because if something's a milestone, that means it's important enough that we're going to treat it as a dependency. We can count on each other delivering on those milestones unless something goes terribly wrong. And then work plans, it's right there in the name. They're plans. They're the tasks, the project plans, the roadmaps, the how of execution. They're what we plan to do. Commits are the mandatories. In fact, I call these mandatories now. It was kind of a brain fart for me to use commits when I drew the picture. But they're the high confidence or mission critical must-dos that we make promises about to key stakeholders, to customers, to the business, and to each other. They're mandatory. They're goals that are so important we can't afford to fail. There may be consequences for non-achievement. So the organization needs to prioritize and support them with the needed budget and resources for people to be able to succeed. When we're clear about what words mean and how they interact, we can stop arguing about vocabulary and start having better conversations about what actually matters. And if you're ready to dive deeper into creating and achieving strategic goals that actually work, grab a copy of my book, You Are a Strategist. Use No BS OKRs to get big things done. You can download a free excerpt at the link on your screen or in the description. If you want to keep learning about No BS OKRs right here, right now, check out my No BS OKRs Fundamental series. It's linked right now on the screen. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.